host of Shakori Sessions. Thank you for joining us, episode 3 with Jeb Puryear of Donna the Buffalo, and one of the festival founders of the GrassRoots Festival in Trumansburg, New York. He and his brother, and also the Shakori Hills GrassRoots Festival of Music and Dance in Pittsboro. This session was recorded during the Fall Festival in October 2019, and the original idea was to release half of it or some kind of variation thereof in May, with the full moon tonight, Thursday, May 7th, at the start of what would be our spring festival, and the other portion of it in October on the Saturday night of the fall festival, which would be a new moon night. So it'd be a good bookend to our whole year of the phases of the moon and celebrating the phases of the moon. And so, you know, all of that kind of got thrown out the window. When we canceled the spring festival, and so, which, you know, none of us thought we'd be here. We don't want to be here. We'd rather be in Shakori this week, enjoying Dell and Rising Appalachia and Keller and all. It was just gonna be a great lineup, and Travers Brothership and Dr. Bacon and all sorts of wonderful musicians from all over the country were coming to Pittsboro, and as they do and have done for the past 17 years. And so that decision was not taken lightly to cancel it. Even before the governor's order, we were working on this and trying to decide what to do. We're keeping abreast of the situation. Luckily, we have a very active board who they're very tied in to the community and to the healthcare industry, and so we're aware, and the governor's order, you know, kind of verified what we were thinking, and so we feel for all of our sister and brother festivals out there, like Leaf and Merlefest. We've been thinking about you all, thinking about all of the musicians who are, you know, sitting at home doing your absolute best over virtual, and loving all of your performances. Hopefully we're going to be able to bring some of those to you here in the next few months, and Jeb, our feature interview on this month's podcast, is actually working on a song that he's hopefully going to share with us by the end of the weekend. So stay tuned on that. If you're not following us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, please do so. Please follow us on the festival e-newsletter. Sign up for the festival e-newsletter. You can find all of this information on Shakori Hills GrassRoots.org. And so that's the festival website. ShakoriHills.org is the Shakori Hills Community Arts Center website. And they're linked together. You can get to one from the other. But Shakori Hills Community Arts Center is really what this is all about. It is a nonprofit based in Pittsboro that provides music and arts education programs to underserved communities in Chatham and Orange and Durham counties. And the main revenue generators annual revenue generator for the Arts Center is the Spring Festival is number 1, the Fall Festival is number 2, and then Hoppin' John is probably number 3. And Hoppin' John happens in September. It's an old time fiddler music convention. And so the decision to cancel the Spring Fest does not come lightly. It impacts all the programs. It impacts the contractors that we have on staff for these festivals. We have, I think we contract about 200 basically people who are contracted, and we have twice as many or more volunteers that make each festival run. It's an ungodly amount of people impacted by that decision. We had to do it for the health and safety of us all. and I know you can understand that, and we all want to help our neighbor as at Shakori as much as or more than any other thing I've been a part of, and I'm proud and happy to say that. This interview with Jeb, we get into all sorts of stuff. We get into the history of the festival, the history of the band. He plays 4 new tunes, and 2 of them he wrote with Gregor Bone in Nashville. I think you're going to enjoy those. We decided to release this entire thing this weekend instead of saving some for October, and I think we've got a really good product for you here. Hopefully you can kick back and relax and enjoy listening to kind of some Jeb stories, and hear some new tunes. There's a little bit of Shakori coming this way this weekend, and maybe you'll get one more before the end of the weekend, or we all will. And hopefully we can get back to normal come the end of the summer, and we can all gather again in some altered state of cleanliness. And in October, the dates are October 8th through the 11th right now. That's what has been announced as, and that's what we're holding to until we know anything more. So stay tuned to the website, subscribe to the e-newsletter, stay tuned to social media.
You might be just like me if you like drinking, smoking weed, if you like dancing wild and free, if you like loving, love with me, if you like dancing, loving, drinking and smoking weed. Life can be tired sometimes, looking for a little peace of mind. We all need to unwind. It's time to take some time, let's let the party shine. Lord knows it's not a crime if you like drinking, smoking weed, if you like dancing wild and free, if you like loving, love with me, if you like dancing, loving, drinking and smoking weed. We know if you do too much, you get too far out of touch. That's why we do just enough drinking, smoking weed, dancing wild and free. If you like loving, love with me, if you like dancing, loving, drinking and smoking weed. You might be just like me. Seen her across the way, the kind that makes you want to stay. She said, be with me, possibly. If you like drinking, smoking weed, if you like dancing wild and free, if you like loving, love with me, if you like dancing, loving, drinking and smoking weed. If you like drinking, smoking weed, if you like dancing wild and free, if you like loving, love with me, if you like dancing, loving, drinking and smoking weed. Well, you might be
Hey.
Hey, David, how you doing, man? Where do you work?
What do you do?
What do you do, David?
What brings you here?
What brings me here? Well, 5 million years ago, we started the GrassRoots Festival in New York State. It feels like that. And then, 1991 was the first one, I think. Yeah. And then that really went well. And we were like, we should go do it in other places. And so we had a good following in North Carolina due to predominantly we always had keyboard player for North Carolina. Well, we did for a while. And then, but that wasn't really it. It was the boogie.
Yeah.
We played the boogie. And I don't know how we got into boogie. But so then after that, people would come see us at shows and whatnot. So we developed a little following here. And, if you're a band that doesn't have a radio hit or, it's patchwork, you're lucky to be able to go anywhere and get a crowd and make enough money to get back,
Right.
So so North Carolina was a hot spot. And also we had a fondness for North Carolina because go to old time fiddle festivals. Donna the Buffalo, loosely speaking, is kind of grew out of old time music lovers. I grew up playing the fiddle. That's how I met Tara. She's an incredible fiddler, and so we used to all play together. And then Bubba George String Band was my brother Jordan, Richie Stearns, and Shane Lamphere, and so that was the original Donna the Buffalo with Richie's wife, Jenny, who was an incredible songwriter, is an incredible songwriter. So so we would have these parties, and it'd be like Thanksgiving time or whatever. And Richie had bought this organ at a yard sale for $50, and it's this Lowry, and had this weird kind of ethereal tone and a wah-wah pedal built into it.
Sweet.
And so we kind of started jamming this electric music, and Jim Miller too, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started jamming this electric music, and Tara was a songwriter. She wrote songs like you might hear on the radio, and then so I started writing songs. So we just had a bunch of songwriters, and Richie wrote songs, and his wife Jenny. And then so we just jammed these tunes. It was kind of fun learning the new, it's a whole different way of playing music,
Mm-hmm.
And electric guitars too, instead of fiddle or whatnot. And then so Richie's wife booked this vegetarian restaurant in Ithaca, called the Cabbagetown Cafe, and she was like, "Well, we should do a gig there." So then, as soon as we had a gig, we were going, "Oh my God!" So we actually rehearsed for a couple of weeks. We got a nice night's worth of material together, and so we played that gig, and a bunch of people came. They danced from the first note to the last note.
Was it called Donna the Buffalo that night?
Yeah. It just had a vibe, and from playing a lot of old time music is incredibly awesome. Like, it's very rapid, it's super syncopated. It's just going. And if somebody like accelerates their listening space to like get that accelerate with it,
mm-hmm.
and it's loud, you can get off on old time music like nothing, it's freaking awesome, but it's just not the easiest performing music, and we used to play on the street all the time and for quarters and like we used to have like a weekend thing where we go and play on the street and then buy a pizza and beer and go swimming, when we were kids. And we were broke all the time.
That was around
by
Ithaca?
the way.
That was around Ithaca?
Yeah. I could talk forever about all this stuff, but anyway, so that's, and I forgot where we even started. Oh, how we got here. But, and then, but so it was really cool to play the music that people were more readily understood. It was more typical sounding as far as like sort of a rock band stuff, and the emotional ranges of the tunes are a little broader than the old time. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, I just remember it's like, holy smokes, that was really remarkable. I could barely sleep that night. I was so excited, it's like, wow, we could do this, and so the band started traveling, and we certainly wasn't instant success, but it was more like a lifestyle or a family to us. Mm-hmm. It's like we wanted to do this. We just did it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's more like a way of life than like a career. You never really thought about it as a career very much?
Right. It's just what you do.
And every time I do, it bums me out. So hopefully I can maintain my. I've been accused by someone saying, "You live in a la la world, la la land." I said, "Yes. What's your point?"
Right. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like I'm almost through it, and nothing. Lots of bad things have happened, of course, just like they always do. But it's not from that, I tell you.
Well, did you? From an early age, did you know it was going to be music?
Yeah, for sure. I could put on a record when I was 2, and would stand in front of the speakers and I play records all day. And so my brother Jordan, he was at the time there was a big old time scene up in our area. There was a band called the Highwood String Band and the Cracknone String Band, and so strangely enough, upstate New York, it's in the Appalachian Ridge,
right?
But those bands settled there, and so we used to go see these concerts all the time, and my father's a huge fan of old time music, and so when we were kids growing up, at one point, Richie started playing banjo. And he never had a case. I mean, he just hitched it down. It was always just on his back. He just did it nonstop, And then, so he was the first one to, and this was sort of in our family, transferring from motocross racing to, music. Had an extremely underfunded motocross team. I think they were trying to rubber band a set of points together, to keep it. I mean, we're talking no money at all. So it was a miracle you could even get the bike going. But Jordan was pretty quick on the thing. But
riding on the tracks around upstate?
Yeah. Then, but we transferred over to music, and so he goes, "Oh, Jeb should learn how to play fiddle. He's got nothing better to do, And I think I was 6.5 or 7. But I was like, yeah, I could probably do that. I was thinking to myself. And so I started playing fiddle. And I thought, the scene up in Trumansburg was really happening, I mean, it was not like a folk thing. It was like a bunch of hippies back to the land. They were really forging a new path, mm-hmm. And old-time music was a part of it. And they would pack this pretty small club, but they would just jump up and down with the music. And it's unaffectionately termed the hippie hop by some. There are more, but I'll contend that the hippie hop is a very good dance to the old time music and that floor bounced. If you went in the basement, it was moving like 8 inches up and down. So it was pretty wild, and it was just a very, very sweaty, happening scene. Mm-hmm. And I remember it well from being a kid. And we used to go and fall asleep in a pile of coats, and this was a very energetic scene. So I thought this was going on everywhere, And I figured, well, if I learn how to play the fiddle, I'll have it made,
Right.
It'd be like no problem. But little did I realize this was really only going on right there.
Right there.
So it was kind of interesting. So there's another thing when, Donna the Buffalo got started, it was like, wow, we could almost go anywhere and play gigs and be understood as human beings, So it's kind of what got that going. And then, y'all just had the Western Centuries in here. And Jim Miller was in our band. Him and Tara were married. And so me and him, we learned how to play guitar together. Did a lot of double guitar playing and intertwining. So definitely learned a lot from him. And
he was telling us he went to Cornell and he was working on his undergrad.
Yeah.
Y'all met.
Yeah.
They were you in school at that time?
No, I didn't go to much school. Many schools.
Schools of life.
Much. I have not received very much schooling, but
your dad was.
Both my parents were PhDs,
right? And he was well read, and his library's out at the house.
I don't think anybody's read more books, and he'd be sort of depressed, and I'd go look at the stack of books he was reading. It's like the rise and fall of the Third Reich, and this and the, just
God.
like all these,
downer books.
Oh my God, yeah, but he's read them all.
Yeah.
And so then it was kind of like that, he was not enamored with what society was up to at all. Mm-hmm. And so kind of stopped working. And my mom also was PhD. She went to Oxford in the 50s. Which
she was the first female doctor at Oxford, is that right?
I think I would know that. I would hope that I would know that if that was true, but it's not very many women went to Oxford in the 50s. And she was just a freaking rock, But she also didn't like teaching. Like it would have been a much easier life to go be a college professor, and, have a nice house and pay some bills or whatever. But she just worked odd jobs, worked at the local weekly paper, sort of like, every town back in the days.
Has a daily paper.
A paper, had sort of like the leftist weekly or the art rag or whatever, the kind of thing. So she worked at that. And
the leftist weekly.
The leftist weekly. But
so she but like her family's all from Nashville, right?
Yeah. Both my parents are from Nashville.
Okay.
And grandparents and all.
Right.
Yeah. And they just traveled around different jobs, having kids everywhere.
They moved from Nashville after Vanderbilt to Trumansburg because they got.
Well, they moved to Texas for a while, and they was in Louisiana for a while. Like Jordan was born in Lafayette, and some of my brothers were born in Denton, Texas.
Really?
And then some in Nashville, and I was born in Ithaca. And so
all over the place.
Yeah.
And
we were reprimanded for talking like Yankees when we were kids.
Were you?
By my relatives in Nashville. And they weren't kidding either. You didn't. They would like pronounce the word and say, "No, you can't say it like that." So I have this sort of confused accent. I don't know whether I should say anything or not. Letting go, thinking that you're the one. The trying's over, the crying has begun. Watch it flow, Watch it roll from the pain. Watch it mix with the future and spiral down the drain. And I will go as destiny's wild waters run. The trying's over and the crying has begun. Make no mistake about it, it hurts. Make no mistake, the part of me that needs to lead has to win. Make no mistake, it's over. And it would be a mistake for a part of me to agree to take you back again. So I'm letting go, thinking that you're the one. The trying's over and the crying has begun. That was unintended chords. Sound pretty good though. Make no mistake about it, it hurts. Make no mistake, the part of me that needs to lead has to win. Make no mistake, it's over. And it would be a mistake for a part of me to agree to take you back again. So I'm letting go of thinking that you're the one. The trying's over and the crying has begun. And I'll go as destiny's wild waters run. The trying's over and the crying has begun.
You know, I went to school at Middle Tennessee State for music business, and when I moved out there, well, we're sitting in Pittsboro right now, and right down the street from us, there are protests over the Confederate War Memorial on the courthouse square. And when I pulled into Murfreesboro for the first time, there was a billboard on the edge of town, the Jackson Motel, and its logo was the Confederate flag.
Yeah.
I was driving, and my mom looked at me, and she goes, "Are you sure you want to come here?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, it's it's the best around." At the time, it was better than Belmont or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing that tripped me up, and this is the point of the thing, is I mispronounced Lebanon. It's not Lebanon, it's Lebanon.
Lebanon. Yeah.
Lebanon. And they corrected me. They said,
Yeah.
"No, that's not right." I'm like, "Well, it says right there on the sign, Lebanon."
Yeah.
No.
There's a town and there's a street in Nashville called Demonbron. It's very, but they refer to it as Demumbrian.
Demumbrian. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting. And my Uncle Jordan, who was, famous lawyer or whatever, he would tell a joke about back in the old days, a horse died on Demumbrian, and he was dragging it over to State Street so he could fill out the paperwork because he didn't know how to spell it. It was too confusing. But anyway, that's a
Demon Brawn.
yeah. It's like Demon Brawn. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, but they don't pronounce it anything like that.
No. That you've been spending a lot of time in Nashville?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have a family house there. All my parents are gone now, and aunt and grandparents and all that stuff. So
And so,
But
I mean,
it's still there.
still there? That's an old family farm, or?
No, it's a very large house my father found it in like 1959.
Cool.
And they bought it for like 16.5, which is like very remarkable. So but it's the type of house that nobody wanted at that particular time.
Yeah.
You know, they were wanting a modern little house with a big kitchen. This was a giant house with a tiny little kitchen. So
Perfect.
Yeah, no, it's really something.
Does that? I mean, you played a couple of. Were those newer tunes?
Yeah,
That today.
those are some of those tunes, you know, where me and my buddy Gregor are staying at the house, and we're sort of in Nashville, you know, and people write songs there. Writing is an activity. You're not just slacking or lazing around.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, we're writing. And
That's what people do.
yeah. So anyway, we started writing some. We're hoping to sell a couple to pay the taxes off on so we can continue to stay in Nashville, which is that's kind of a fun motivation, you know. But there's more to it than that, of course.
I mean, you're writing with Jim Lauderdale at all?
I have with him.
It sounded like I heard a little bit of Jim in there. I could hear him singing one of those.
Yeah. No, he's definitely. We wrote one together called "Except for That One Time," which he's saving for the next time we make a record together, or because I don't know, he hasn't sold it to anybody, but
At least that's what he's telling you, right?
yeah. But it came out pretty good. And that was the first song I ever written with any other person, you know.
Really?
It's sort of strange to process because when you're writing a song, you're just like yammering to the ether about nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And then eventually a couple words to you, you know, they come to you. You don't know why, you know, but all of a sudden
It's there.
it appears.
It's
Something starts meaning something,
right?
you know.
Something. Do you find it starts with the chords, or does it start with the prose?
Sometimes it'll start with an idea like that last tune, like smoking, drinking weed. You know, for some reason we were just in this little town in West Virginia, and there was a certain series of songs came on the radio at this bar we're at eating dinner. I don't know, for some reason I just started singing it, so I didn't have the chords or nothing. But
You wrote it right there.
yeah, that
Yeah.
part, you know, if you
Yeah.
like, right? But I don't know. There's something about being in this town was sort of down and out, and it just seemed like the train had left the station over there a long time ago, and there's not a lot of pretense
Right.
going on. That seemed.
You I mean, you're 30 years now with Donna,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean you've gone everywhere, right?
Yeah.
You backwoods of West Virginia, and
Yeah.
yeah, I was seeing y'all in the early 90s. I mean, y'all would come through here every 3 months or so
Yeah.
because we had a good circuit.
Yeah.
You could have, there was a good live music circuit through here, and
Yeah.
you could hit Charlotte and Winston and Raleigh.
I tell you, if it weren't for this festival scene, it would be pretty dire. You know, I mean, the festivals are a big part, and then good music-loving people that open venues,
Yeah.
and you see that a lot. They're very dedicated to music, and they open venues and they make it happen. So I think both those things are a little underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll have a certain town, they'll have a music scene. The reason they have a music scene is because somebody's really into music. And a lot of people think there is money to be made, but it usually gets made by others. But, I mean, we went on the road for years and, you know, got home with $30. We were glad to get home.
With $30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I say, nobody would ever do it like we did. I mean, it was just a lifestyle. It's what we wanted to do. Bought a bus, and, you know. And also we're very do-it-yourselfers. You know,
Right.
always. The only way we ever got anything, you know, when we're growing up, is get something that was broken and fix it. Which I have a bad habit of, continually buying broken things, and I don't have time to fix all these things, and do have a little bit of money now, not very much, but enough to get a couple of things fixed.
And they're still broken.
Yeah, I don't know. Things do break in this world. There's no doubt about it.
How many cars are you working on right now?
Well, I'm just really trying to whittle down. I'm trying to change my ways. I really am. It's hard, but it's hard. I am.
So you can't teach old dogs new tricks, huh?
Yes, you can. I'm reverting back to an age that never was before.
So on the songwriting, you said writing with Jim was the first time you've written with anybody else.
Yeah.
Like, so you and Tara don't write together?
No, not really. I mean, every now and then I'll come up with an idea for something, or she'll come up with an idea like to help something out. But but not. It's sort of it's something that we could maybe start doing now or something, a little bit for fun. But it's sort of we tend to be really shy.
Okay.
Even with each other after knowing you know what I mean, like knowing each other for so many years and so well, and I mean it's very well established that I love her to death, and and so on and so forth. Yeah. But it's just an interesting thing being in a room, just making blabbing sounds and
trying to write something.
Yeah, trying to figure something out. So
so Jim was talking earlier with Western Centuries how he had never written anything before being in Western Centuries.
Yeah.
That in Donna, he knew his role, and his role was to play rhythm guitar and sing backup, and he appreciated that.
He also, and I mentioned this to him at one time, he was really good songster. Like he find very interesting songs to sing and cover, and then I can see a thread of a lot of the stuff that he liked to cover come through in his songwriting, which is really cool. It's got some nice stuff there. So yeah, it's interesting to start writing songs after like a long time.
Right. Yeah.
But it's kind of funny. It's like people start writing songs when they're really young, but it's like, what are they writing about? Like, what do they know about? You know what I mean? Or I guess, but all you got to do is suppose about it, or know that you love her to death. I love you, baby.
Love songs.
Yeah.
Very easy.
I loved you the moment I saw you. I loved you when we first met. I loved you the times we were together. I loved you the day you left. Your face is a constant reflection. It takes no mirror to see. Your name is the answer to most questions. It includes what happened to me. Well, they say when you love somebody, set them free. Well, I'll never own anything but your memory. Your face is a constant reflection. It takes no mirror to see. Your name is the answer to most questions. that includes what happened to me. Well, I heard you found a lover, and I hope he's kind and true and offers you all you've ever wanted, like I could never do. Your face is a constant reflection that takes no mirror to see. Your name is the answer to most questions, that includes what happened to me.
Well, do you? I mean, some of your lyrics are. I mean, it's more poetry. It doesn't really. If you read them, it could be in a poetry book.
Yeah.
Like, is that?
I don't.
Something did you grow up writing poetry or?
I've wrote a few poems, but I think, I don't know, writing kind of came naturally to me or something. That's at least my niece Rosa's. That's what she said. So not everybody can write. And she teaches English, and she was like, well, you're just natural writer or whatever.
Just natural writer.
Yeah, but I find it really fascinating, the shades of words and the phrasing and all that stuff. It's really beautiful to me.
Language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really. We were talking about we're big Roger Miller fans, and he's got this one tune they recorded a couple times, and there's one on the internet, and then in a world so full of love, yet not enough to go around. And this was on this demo tape, and it's so great. It's just him singing it, and then he released the commercial version of it, and it says, "In a world so full of love and not enough to go around." And so the and the yet were replaced, and me and my buddy it's like, the yet is so much better.
So much better.
I mean, it's amazing the difference that it makes. And I don't know whether he just spaced it out or was high on something when they recorded and forgot that it was yet, or somebody suggested to leave the yet out and put an and in. But it's just remarkable how different that made it. So there's like every last little thing does make a difference.
So how much do you, I don't want to say beat yourself up, but, like really.
Plenty.
Well, as far as pick apart words and really, I mean, is it sometimes they just flow and it comes naturally? You're like, oh, I nailed it. Or sometimes you're struggling.
Usually you just sort of get like a framework, and the thing at a certain point becomes about something. Mm-hmm. And after that, you just follow that.
Right.
And everything that fits it goes in, and everything that doesn't fit it goes out, And
maybe into something else.
Yeah. So that's kind of the way it works. But yeah, you rework some stuff here and there, and definitely go over it a few times, and
try different ways.
Out. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get that middle phrasing right? Just a second ago.
It would it'd be a mistake to take you back again.
Yeah.
That took a hot minute, because it was I sort of heard it, but it was hard. Sometimes you think like something's just not going to fit in there,
right? But
usually there's a way with phrasing and saying words quickly or slow. There's a lot of leeway, and there's a lot of wonderful leeway in the English language for slanting things and so on and so forth.
Right.
Now, my mom, being a English professor, she would want to correct certain things, but I would tend not to let her. And then just to me, because the language is a little more wide open, it really is basically about communicating. You know, it's good to communicate accurately, but any two beings, you know, you drop them in the middle of the woods, they're going to start communicating,
Right.
somehow, you know, and so the exact form is not. It's the refined thing from King James or whatever, but it's not the essence of communicating, you know. So, and then when you get into poetry and then the free jazz and the whatever, you know what I mean. And even then you like read Faulkner or whatever, and the stuff doesn't make sense for a long time, and then you just notice you have this weird feeling in your stomach. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's not like proper English. I mean, there's all over the map, and then all of a sudden you realize that you feel terrible. You're just like, I'm going to stop reading Faulkner.
Have you read Cormac McCarthy's books at all?
No, I don't think so.
It's my brother turned me on to him years ago, and I went through and read a few of his books, and I was like, man, Tripp loves these books so much. I like, it's his favorite guy. I got to read it, and he like doesn't use periods and punctuation marks. It just throws you off, and it's like capital letters and random spots, and so I kind of gave up on it. I've gone back and started reading it again. I'm like, okay, I think I get it now.
Yeah,
I can get his phrasing down.
Yes.
I can read how
it's supposed to warp your timing.
Right, it's supposed to.
Yeah,
and it definitely does.
But anyway, back to the original question. So we had this basically Jim Miller, that used to be in the band, had the idea of pulling together some groups and having a concert to really basically engender some more camaraderie in the music scene.
Yeah,
you know, and so we did this theater benefit show, and we sold it out, and we had the Horseflies and this band Neon Baptist and Donna the Buffalo, and it was really cool. And that was kind of like the birth of the organization or whatnot.
Okay,
you know, and so.
But that was an AIDS benefit, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
But the original idea was to get this musical thing going, and then we didn't want it to be, you know, who gets the money or all that. So we wanted to remove that kind of entrepreneurial thing, and so we decided to make a benefit. And then there's people we knew that worked at this agency, AIDS work, and at that point, I mean, it was really just breaking in there, and so we chose them. And the whole thing just had this great energy about it. Mm-hmm. Then the following, and also the other thing is Jim was an entomologist and had a full-time job, and I showed up back in town, and I didn't really have much to do at all, and I actually started doing a bunch of the organizing, like phone calling and so on and so forth. And
for Donna or for the festival, both, everything?
The festival.
For festival.
Well, really this concert.
Okay.
You know, so I pulled a lot of stuff together for it. And then the following year, the band had actually broke up a little bit. For, I don't know why people do what they do. Or I don't even know. It was just like smear over that part of the story. But but I was like, we should start this festival, like do a festival, because the festival would, for one, have a individual concert doesn't have momentum,
right?
But a festival creates momentum,
right?
And so we all got together and figured we'd do this festival.
And that was the first Trumansburg?
That was GrassRoots, yeah. And then, and of course, you know, it was a not-for-profit fundraiser. And, you know, it's hard to make any money the first year, you
first 3 years.
Yeah, the first 3 years were, I remember the third year, enough people came to break even, and that was like very relieving and remarkable, you know. But certain people didn't understand, you know. Mm-hmm. They were like, well, but there's a lot of people that don't understand things. You know what I mean? Or they don't have a lot of business background or sense about how things work and so on and so forth. And as a member of the left, I can tell you that the left can be extremely impractical. I can say that and mean it.
As a bona fide member.
Yeah, as a bona fide member. But so anyway, so that got going, and then we picked North Carolina because Donna the Buffalo had a bit of a following down here in our association, and then so Jordan came down with this and met up with Robert, our friend, and he was actually looking to buy a place, and they were looking at different fairgrounds around here, and then they found the Shakori property was for sale, and they went, and Robert was in a position to buy it, and so God bless him.
Yeah, I was about to say, nice to have friends like that.
And then, but the first year, I mean, it just about sleeted. You know, it was so cold and so wet, so rainy, and now everything out there is packed down. You know, it's been driven on a ton.
Yeah.
But it was you couldn't take one step off the road they built, and you'd sink right up to
your ankles.
Ankles, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Robert was out after that. His you know, because I mean, I had a meltdown doing GrassRoots in New York. I mean, the first few years. I mean, it's unbelievably stressful.
It is.
I mean, it just ruined many a summer. Just the whole summer, you just like
consumed.
You have this like poker hand, and you don't know whether these cards are going to play or not, and you hold it and hold it and hold it and hold it for months and months. And the other thing is, like, if you had a business that you open, you'd be able to make corrections like every day,
right?
You know, it's like, well, we're going to warm the soup up before we serve it, you know. Or stuff like, you know, you make adjustments every day, and you be open every day, and
or it needs more salt, less salt.
Yeah,
right.
But this cycle of, you know, you got one shot. You work for months and months on a 4-day event.
Right.
Everything goes down those 4 days.
Yeah.
And your next chance of correcting anything,
it's the following year.
It's the following year.
You're right.
And now you got to remember what to correct. You got to actually be able to correct it, and. I mean, and it's a fairly slow process, and a lot of thought and a lot of critical thinking goes into it, you know. Mm-hmm. And of course, now festivals are everywhere, and we play a bunch of them. And you go somewhere, and you know, these people put this freaking stage up on top of a mountain, like looking off. It's like, well, that's fine for the band. What do you?
The audience
is like on this slope, staring straight up into the sun. It's like, you know, you guys are not engaged in a lot of critical thinking about what's going to take place. This freaking cops came and busted everybody, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's so many, you know, there's so much to it. And then so that's how we got down here in North Carolina. But Robert's famous quote, he was out there on the driveway, he goes, it's just not worth all this for a few moments of magic, he said. Which I could, you know, it's hard to quantify what those few moments of magic are really worth, you know, but when they hit, it's really a beautiful thing. Have you ever been touched by something vast, beautiful, and hard to explain? Easy to feel, hard to say, the things you find across the way. Do you think a smile matters? Do you think a song can change the world? Well, if you do, then let it play. All these things happen across the way. Do you believe in magic? I do. Every day is right where you're standing, across the way. Have you ever felt your prayers were answered? The shred of light in the darkest place. Away home when gone astray. Another message from across the way. Do you believe in magic? I do. Every day is right where you're standing, across the way. Rainbow rides, bursting storm. Parents cry when baby's born. When your thirst is quenched with a glass still full, where it's commonplace for miracles, where your loved ones go, but their love still stays. You can feel it from across the way. Do you believe in magic? Yes, I do. Every day is right where you're standing, across the way. Do you believe in magic? Yes, I do. Every day, right where you're standing, across the way. Do you believe in magic? Yes, I do. Every day, right where you're standing, across the way. You know, just yesterday a few folks came, just really heartfelt, saying how much it really means to them, you know. Like
That
really,
is still going on.
really means a lot to them. And this one guy from West Virginia, he says his wife works at the rehab up there, you know, and it's just so stressful. And, you know, they're doing everything they can to keep things going. And, you know, he said he comes down here twice a year, gets recharged, you know.
That's
And
awesome.
he wouldn't skip one, you know.
Coming down
Said
from West Virginia for it.
Said they need it, you know.
That's awesome.
So, in a way, you know, and it plays in as like creating a different kind of resonance for human beings to feel more relevant, feel
Right.
more connected to something that they appreciate and can actually be connected to, you know. It's not necessarily religion. It doesn't necessarily exclude religion, but it's in the culture. It's just like that thing you need to identify with. You need to think living's like a cool thing. And you see, you know, unhappiness is just unbelievably rampant. And there's a bunch of folks out there, they don't think living's worth a shit, you know.
Right.
And you can't really, they haven't found what's worth anything
for.
about it.
Yeah.
They haven't, and you can't blame anybody, but our culture and our vibe and what the world's up to is a huge part of the way people feel about living. So it's like, it's a big deal. So that's always kind of like the subtext, and as corny as it sounds, and you know, but I always sort of figure what we're trying to do is promote freaking peace on earth.
Yeah.
You know,
Is that come from? There's a lot there that I'd like to dig into, but I don't know if we got time to. But does that come from your mom? How, like
Probably, yeah. Well, everything came from her. I guarantee
right.
she was a freaking hero.
I mean, how much of her ethos is involved in what you try to curate?
I would say, not one to one. Like, she doesn't run around saying corny shit like that, or didn't. But she believed in it,
Right.
And but yeah, she was a real strong, great person, just really. And so was my father,
But she was involved in Finger Lakes. And,
oh yeah,
and she was, involved in Shakori Hills too, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And she just passed in the past 3 years, I guess.
Yeah.
So, my father passed in 2015. So
yeah.
But that is, so I know how that is. Do you want to just pick up the phone and call them and say, "Hey, what would you do in this situation?"
There's a lot of questions that nobody has any answers to all the time. I miss her very much.
Yeah, right.
Matter of fact, the other night I had a dream with her in it, and I woke up, crying or whatever, and it made me wonder. It's like, do you really get over anything, or you just learn how to put it away or something?
Lock it away a little bit.
Just like Talladega Nights, just bury it deep inside and never bring it up again. But I don't know. You definitely come to an understanding over time about certain things, but if you ever actually put yourself back the way it really matters, life has a lot of every living person,
Right.
There's a lot going on, you got to be able to do it. So in a way, that's just philosophy, life. But yeah, I would say in general, definitely out of her, she would call it enlightened self-interest.
Okay. Right.
Because, she wasn't necessarily as like selfless. You see these people are entirely selfless, and
right.
Which is sort of kind of funny. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's great, but in some way, there's all types of folks that they can play into some kind of martyrdom. They're like, oh, look at me, I'm suffering more than anyone else. And that they're more comfortable in that role or whatever. But
what do you feel a responsibility? I mean, you like you. Just this morning I had 2 conversations out there by the solar charging machine. The one girl, she goes to UNCW, and she's been coming since she was 3 or 4 years old, and she's helped us out on some social media this past festival, and then a lady was with her. She's with the Abundance. She's on the board of the Abundance Foundation, and they didn't know each other, but they knew a lot of the same people. And then this lady had been coming for, she'd say, I've seen 30 festivals here, and the younger girl said, yeah, I haven't missed one since I was 3 or 4. I mean, is there you feel a sense of responsibility, or like how, there are a lot of people count on this. I mean, this is their week vacation.
Yeah. I guess, but it doesn't really hit me like that. It's just like you just want it to go, and you wanted, you just want it to succeed and continue to thrive.
Right.
And so that drive is always just sort of leading it.
Yeah.
And
that's enough internal push to get it done that you don't need the exterior.
But every now and then, things, as you know, like when you work on a large project that has like many facets, and so you're sort of like a plow for logistics and problems, and you're trying to solve all the problems, but there's certain problems that are really difficult to solve, and they keep reappearing, and they're just like they're like the thorn in the paw of progress, you know. And then, so as you're working on it, you just basically chew on these facets. They're really difficult and they're hard to solve. And then there's a temptation after a while, not consciously, but subconsciously, you just sort of view the festival as this couple of handfuls of problems that never go away. Like, you know, there's never enough money, and there's, you know what I mean, and then there's stuff always breaks, and you know what I mean. So there's a way, in a way, you can feel like it's this kind of just, there's just a headache, and then at that point, it's just kind of becomes a drag. And so at a certain point, we instituted a rule, like before every meeting broke, we'd, you know, go over how freaking cool it is. You know, it's just so cool. And we met so many incredible people and heard so much incredible music from all over the world. And, you know, it is freaking amazing, you know. Right. And then you can go chew on them problems some more, you know, because they're not going to go away terribly soon, or maybe they will, you know, who knows. But I've tried to make a point to enjoy this one a little bit more, so that you know, you can, when you step back, you're like, okay, now it's time to work on those tough problems. What's coming next? What's, you know, you working on a solo album? You just writing tunes in Nashville? You're gonna shop them around, or? Oh, we're gonna shop some of those. Yeah, probably that last one we did. We're gonna try to get somebody to do. I think it would just be a kick. You know, I've always enjoyed I've always sort of written country songs as a pastime, right? And I mean, that's your roots. The country old time thing. Yeah, old time fiddle music, right? And country grew out of that. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've always liked it, and I keep feeling like country music always corrects itself. It's been a long time now since it corrected itself. There's a couple out there that are trying to correct it, but it's not a wave. There's gonna be some people that come along, and it's gonna get back to not just retro, but like being more meaningful, I think. Yeah. And I'd like to be a part of that. Right. I think it would be a real kick. It'd be fun. But if it doesn't happen, it's fine too. I'm fine. But you're still cranking out good tunes, so you know they'll make their way to daylight. Yeah. Yeah. What about let's see, Donna put out an album last year. Yeah. We'll probably need to record one this winter. They probably need to. Just kind of feel like it's time. Well, yeah, it's always time. Really. Y'all have got enough in the can, you think? You have enough unreleased stuff? Yeah. 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 Do you try them out on the road first and hone them? Or? We usually do, just because, we just, at the level we're at, and you want to try to keep everybody being able to do the job, there's a minimum amount of money that you need to survive in the world. And so we need to play that much to make it so you can keep a band together. Right. You know? For sure. So, and unfortunately, that doesn't leave a tremendous amount of time and leftover energy to record a bunch. Or you could go record very quickly. But there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. That's why I always say, you know, there's a lot more to being in a band than playing songs. The fact that y'all have kept, you've had a change in bass player recently, but besides that, y'all have been together for a while. Yeah, we've had that band together for about 9 years. Right. And Ted. And Ted is great, yeah. He's great. Fits in perfect. He was kind of doing some funky stuff last night. Yeah. That went in a different direction. Yeah. He's great. I met him when he was playing with Colonel. Yeah. And I did a couple of Code Talkers shows, and then one of my acts would
open for him or headline in front of him or something. Yeah. Him and Tyler, the drummer in that band, Tyler's was awesome too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The Colonel Bruce is, well, somebody should make a good movie on him here pretty soon.
Right.
I think he was maybe like one of the architects of Southern hipsterism. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's got to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Pretty much. And I didn't know him very well. I played with him just a little bit. But there's hardly a musician in the Southeast that wasn't in his band.
Right. Wasn't touched by him in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
you played with him at festivals, and maybe he sat in. Or
I was at this one gig we were doing, and he was playing. I went up and played a few tunes with him. Yeah, I'm very glad I did. You know, I always, he was one of those kind of fascinating people to talk to, and everybody would. But I don't know. We kind of would size each other up and kind of almost figured we bore each other being fascinating or something. I don't know. You know, it's just, but I always appreciated his presence, and he's definitely a super smart dude.
What I mean, is that ideal for you going on stage? You know, you're on your birthday. I mean, is that if you could write your ending? What? I
think that was special to him.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because he was kind of in that numerology and all that stuff, and matter of fact, Teddy was telling these things. He would always tell whoever's driving his car, 3 blinks only on the blinker. You know,
that's it.
Like one, you know, if you went over, it's like 3 blinks only. You know, because he's conserving the number of blinks and the blinker. You know, and and then when he died, somebody got in his car to move, and the blinker didn't work.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great, man.
And so
that's great. He worn out.
So there were several things like that gave people the spooks. Well, let alone friggin' dropping dead on the last song
of the birthday
70th birthday in this theater with all these people that played in your group and over the years, you know.
Right. It's pretty intense.
It's pretty intense. Do I see? I would. You know, I'm not a numerologist, but yeah, there's worse ways to go, you know.
Right. Yeah. What's with Shakori or with GrassRoots as a whole? What's the next evolution, do you think, or is it?
You know, a lot of it is just keep the challenge of keeping it as good as it is, which is, you know, it sounds like, oh, there's a challenge to keep something the same, but you can see in the world scenes come and go, things come and go.
Right.
You know, it's actually more of a challenge than you think, just to keep that energy strong, keep people understanding why you're doing it, what's cool about it, and so on and so forth, and then always to try to grow without losing that.
Right. How do you describe it to somebody that's never been or doesn't understand it?
Well, it's kind of difficult because the main thing at it, of course, there's a stage and a band,
right,
and so on and so forth. There's food, you know, and so you can start there. Right. That's simple. And then there's a bunch of cool people there. They're basically generating a vibe that's coming off from the music with the people. Mm-hmm. And then it's got a tradition of being cool, so people are cool there. And so when you go there, there's a bunch of cool people, you know, which is not necessarily always the case.
Right. That's right.
And when you're there, you're with everyone. You have a commonality. So when you see somebody, you smile, like you're with them,
right? And
you say hello and so stuff, which is no short order. You know, a lot of times you'll be at a festival for a week or whatever, and the first time when you go out and you go to the grocery store, you see somebody you've never seen before, and you kind of open yourself in a way that you don't do in normal life.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems kind of odd because they're obviously, you're not at this beautiful same party just because you're shopping at the same grocery store. You know what I mean? But really in life, you sort of are.
Right.
And so you kind of say, hey, you know, you're like open but you're not. Then you realize, oh, life is not really like that all the time.
All the time.
And then, but it is like that. And there's one thing that, you know, always, you know, many object to is people will have a conversational habit of like they'll be leaving the festival and it's like, oh, I got to go back to the real world.
Right.
And so, therefore, maybe saying like what's going on with these people and the music and not validating it completely. They're of course they're not trying to validate it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, my perception is that's more real than the reality that people are claiming to go back to.
Yeah.
And it may not be as rough a reality, but you know, it's very much a reality. And so it's trying to get music to be more part of culture.
Yeah.
In general. And the cultures that have music, I think, are better off. You know, the Appalachian String Band has tradition of a lot of people, kids play music. And
right.
Of course, around here, that's strong with bluegrass and old time. You know, Cajun cultures, obviously, the tons of people play, you know.
Yeah.
Church music, this and that. But
right.
It's just trying to elevate the level of music in culture, I think is important because having that integration. It's funny down in Louisiana, you go down there, everybody dances in Louisiana.
Yeah.
It's not odd to just start, you hear a half a beat and freaking everybody's dancing.
Right.
They dance.
And
that's a beautiful thing. I'd like to see that.
Right.
A lot.
Right.
You know.
Y'all get them moving tonight with Preston.
Oh, yeah. But so there's just so many things about it. It's sort of endless what the potentials of it, you know, could basically grassroots, you know, given enough financing and good business people could be the Walmart of culture, you know, or something, you know what I mean?
But could it
spread, you know?
Would it that was sort of the dilute idea. It though? Right? I mean,
yeah,
like how,
probably would.
Where's the threshold, or how?
Or
can't grow too fast,
or right? Or how many cool people are there to go to a? And it's not like you need somebody to be cool. You need somebody with the ability to be cool, because behavioralism is terribly contagious.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some. Have you seen some of those videos on YouTube? Social experiments. There's one Google elevator. It's a social experiment. It's all black and white. It's done in the 50s, and you know how one person gets off, other people will get off, and one person stays, and like people stay on the elevator. There's people. It's groupthink, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As much, you know, we like to consider ourselves
individualists,
incredibly individualistic,
right.
And think that we can move anywhere and everything's going to be fine. You know,
right.
I got a job in Peoria. Nothing against Peoria, but you know, if you're, you know, you expect you know, academics are always getting a job somewhere that they've never been,
right?
You know,
right.
Because the college is hiring and they think their wife is going to be happy there. But they don't have any roots at all. I don't know. It's just interesting what people just think they're totally free of how important it is where you live and a lot of the stuff you do, what you eat.
And that's very important is what you're saying.
Yeah, very important. It's like all this stuff's really important. So that's kind of like this is the mini experiment for trying to create better versions of all that.
Right. Do you what else? I feel like we've covered a lot of space, and why?
Yeah, good.
Does that guitar have to go back to? Is that their guitar? Okay.
Yeah. Good luck editing that.
Yeah, he's gonna leave it up to me.
4-hour conversation.
What is there anything you want to touch on we didn't touch on?
No, I mean we talk forever about everything, but
I know, man.
yeah.
I just enjoy our conversations, man.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got one on tape. I
Very
appreciate
cool.
it
For sure.
Yeah,
And onward and upward and outward.
for sure.
Yeah.
Outward, as Colonel might say.
Yeah. Good luck to us all.
That's right.
But it's about like having a responsibility. You mentioned that one time. It's like right after Trump got elected, not to just be like straight up political or anything, but we showed up at this gig and this person goes, yells out, "Jeb, what do you have to say? We need you." And I was like, huh. And the only thing I could think of is what I've been thinking is every graph that moves in a progression wiggles.
Right.
And this is a wiggle.
This is a wiggle.
It's not a tasteful wiggle in my opinion.
Right.
And it's disheartening. But overall everything is moving forward. It can't be stopped. I mean, the truth is the truth, and people in general are pretty good, and and getting better.
Kind of like country music is going to correct itself.
Yes, I'm a hopeless optimist or whatever. Hopelessly optimistic.
Hopelessly optimistic.
Yeah, hopefully optimistic.
Well, I am too. You got to be, because if you don't, then you're going to get stuck. Yeah.
I find that I become a not very useful person if I become unoptimistic. So in a way, I have to like narrow my scope down. Like I'm sort of on a media blackout.
Are you?
Personally,
just too much.
It's not like I don't know what's going on, but I'm not watching CNN all day long.
You remember the last days of Nixon's presidency and Watergate and
a little bit. I was very young, 8 years old.
I mean, do you remember? Was it moving this rapidly? Do you think? I mean, it seems to have been snowballing in the past couple of weeks for our current commander in chief.
Oh, you think he's going to go down? I just never seen any. I've never seen anybody.
One can only hope.
I've never seen anybody in such a consequence-free environment.
Right.
I mean, there just doesn't seem to be any. There's several things I think about it. As one is, in general, it's just asshole fest.
Yeah.
They're tired of being politically correct, tired of trying not to be racist, tired of, all this stuff.
So we're just going to let it out.
Just let it out. And then all the people that want to build a logic train about what's going on and say, well, aha, we got him. Can you believe what he said? That's ridiculous. The logic train doesn't mean anything. They're just glad. They're frustrated, for one. And they're assholes for another. And this is asshole fest, so he's a fucking asshole. It's like, yes.
He's on the podium.
Yes, like, yeah. He ran, grab pussy, ridicules crippled guy, tells a crying baby to shut up.
Yes.
All these things, get grade school teachers fired.
Right.
Gets grade school children expelled.
Yeah.
Just real simple stuff. The one thing I think he did have that was a misread on a lot of people's part is Obama was I think as the democracy goes forward, and more of the decision making gets bought in the legislature,
Mm-hmm.
the more the populace feels like the democracy is unresponsive.
Right.
And so there's this wanting to send someone in there, clean house,
Yeah.
get it back. So Obama came along and was like, this is our guy. He's going to go in there and clean house. Obama is a very pragmatic Midwestern fellow,
Mm-hmm.
and he did a great job, but he did it in that fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And then so it's like, we're going to send Bernie in there. He's a freaking communist. He's going to, he's going to
He's really
He's
going
gonna
to
wreak havoc, you know?
Right.
But they went with Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
But the left was thinking, well, but the left wasn't the only people that had this idea.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the friggin' population has this exact same idea, and Trump promised to go in.
And do it.
And he said, I'm going to go drain the swamp,
Right.
And then,
And he spoke to enough of those radicals
yeah.
to.
And then a referendum on globalization, which globalization hasn't offered an end game for the working poor.
Right.
There's no end game.
Right.
There's not, we're going to invest in this for 30 years and we're all going to start making more money. There's no end game.
Right.
And they might not be the most intellectual crowd, but when you're going down. And then also, if you're poor or white, just to speak very bluntly, your social buoyancy is made up of race
Mm-hmm.
and nationalism. You're an American,
Right.
and you're not black.
Yeah, and you're not black. Right.
And so this is your buoyancy. Well, you have a black president.
Black attorney general.
Yeah.
And you're going to rip all my identity away as you're trying to take my
And,
identity.
we're going to have people come into the United States and welcome them. And it's like, well, guess what? Guess who's going down?
Right.
And you have globalization. Your job is you're going to be competing with every last Asian kid, which you can't.
Right.
And then, so in reality, they are totally getting screwed. I mean, you don't see poor white people on TV unless it's on Cops or some reality show, and you know what I mean?
You're right.
Or shooting baskets or singing, or, you know what I mean? And so they're totally fucked. And it's a reality, and the left totally just botched their relationship with the working population. And then the other thing is, back in like the union days or whatever, the glory days of unionism and
right.
so on and so forth, they went to that population and they sold this stuff, and then they kind of ushered in this liberalism because those Jewish communist intellectuals, really, there's a lot of the organizing. So they would go and they ushered in this era of higher wages, and the higher wages was what they wanted. But along came this progressive thinking. Or we're going to kind of like not be sexist, and we're going to like not be racist, and at the same time we're kind of going to share more, and that was sort of okay, it came in
to
with
a certain extent.
Well, now along comes Trump, and he says, I'm going to get your job back, and you can be racist.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And this is like ding, 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 ding. It's like
Winner,
finally,
winner.
this is our fucking guy, And so it's sad. But the other thing, the left, and I can speak bluntly about the left because I consider myself a member, is very bad at messaging. And their tendency is when somebody doesn't understand something, they just say they're stupid.
Right. They beat them up.
Which is just like,
Yeah.
that's not intelligent at all. It's like if you have a kid and you're trying to show them something and they don't pick it up, then you're just gonna start speaking twice as fast about what an idiot he is, and the kid still
right.
can't do what you're trying to. So if you can't explain why something is and actually get it across,
Yeah.
that's your fault, and it's only your fault. And so the left has very low tolerance for self-examination.
For sure.
Very, very. And it's ruining it. This is part of the latest and greatest miserable song series, I like to call it. Oh, Lord. There's nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. She's just packing some things up before she leaves. Just a scene played out, the tail end of goodbye. Nothing to see but a grown man start to cry. They were best friends once, in the wishes of their wants. Companions, lovers, confidants. But the wheels fell off, never to be put back on again, leaving them uncomfortable in their skin, embarrassed for the story they're now in. There's nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see. She's just packing some things up before she leaves. Just a scene played out at the tail end of goodbye. Nothing to see but a grown man start to cry. Pain etched his face, composure quickly breaks, wanting but knowing there's nowhere to hide. Nothing to see but a grown man start to cry. Just a scene played out at the tail end of goodbye. Nothing to see here but a grown man start to cry.
Man, hey, Jeb, before we turn them off, thank you. Thank you for the tunes. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for everything.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
DonnaTheBuffalo.com.
Right on.